Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here. Welcome back to another video for Cyberpunk 2077, and today I want to take a deep dive into the game and the gameplay and go over a load of really granular, specific information about pretty much everything we know so far. If you guys caught my previous videos, then you'll know that I had a chance to go hands-on with the game for about 4 hours. And while that was the very beginning of the game, and thus I didn't get to try out some of the endgame upgrades, it did allow me to dive into the menus and make a ton of notes. I wasn't allowed to record any of my own gameplay, so everything you see here in this video will either be from B-roll, previous gameplay demos, or trailers, but I want to use this as an opportunity to really give you a chance to get a deeper look at the game for those of you that are super excited. Character creation, customization, perks, stats, loot, open world activities, combat, etc. I want to talk about all of it, so consider this your ultimate guide to the world of Cyberpunk 2077, if you will. If you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated, and if you're hyped for the game, then make sure you stick around as we're going to be covering this pretty extensively from now until launch, so be sure to turn on the notifications so you don't miss a single video.
Sounds simple enough.
Now let's start at the top. In Cyberpunk, you play as V, a mercenary outlaw set to take on the riskiest job of their life. The score is a prototype piece of cyberware that holds the key to immortality. With stakes this high, you need to be prepared to enhance, change, and sacrifice your body in order to overcome your enemies and build your legend. Your story begins with you carving out a foothold in the city and learning what it takes to make a name for yourself. You're ambitious but inexperienced, and during the course of your story, you'll choose how to develop yourself into a name everyone in Night City knows and remembers. Before your journey begins, you need to decide where you came from. Your backstory in Cyberpunk is not just a throwaway choice. It will actually influence not only how your game begins, but some of the interactions you have throughout the game. The nomads are typically found roaming the Badlands, looting scrapyards and raiding fuel depots. Life on the road isn't easy, but a lot of nomads grew up with their clan around them, which has its perks. Honesty, integrity, and a love of freedom are all qualities synonymous with nomads, and it's something that you often don't find in regular Night City folk. Then you have your street kids. They say if you want to understand the streets, you gotta live them. Gangs, fixers, dolls, and small-time pushers, you were raised by all of them. On the streets, the law of the jungle dictates that the weak serve the strong, the only rule in Night City that you have yet to break. And then finally you have the corpos. Very few people leave the corporate life, and even fewer do so with their soul intact. You've been there, you've lived it, you've bent the rules, exploited the secrets, and weaponized information for your own gain. There's no such thing as a fair game in the corporate world, only winners and losers. Whatever your backstory, you'll eventually find yourself in Night City, but keep in mind that your choice will influence how you handle certain situations. For example, a street kid might have the necessary lingo to worm his or her way out of a heated gang debate, but might not have the necessary know-how to finesse their way through a business meeting in the corporate world, where some choices will suit you nicely, others will require you get a little bit more inventive.
I suggest you toss them in the sea. Cuff legs broken so this trash doesn't float.
When it comes to character creation, there are tons of options to choose from. The gameplay you're seeing in the background is from an old 2019 gameplay demonstration, and the UI has actually changed quite a bit since then. Most notably, it's a lot more wrecked, but also the layout is different. But it will still give you a good feel as to what you're able to tweak. There are pre-made faces for you to choose from if you wish, as well as your gender of choice. You then have skin tones, skin types, voice tone, hairstyle, hair colors, eyes, eye color, eyebrows, eyebrow color, nose, mouth, jaws, ears, beard, beard style, beard color, your cyberware, the sort of tech lines that appear on your face, your facial scars, facial tattoos, piercings, piercing color, your teeth, your eye makeup and color, your cheek makeup, your blemishes, nails, body tattoos, nipples, body scars, and yes, even your genitals, of which there are a few types to choose, along with sizes and hair down there too. So yeah, it's safe to say you got a lot of customization to choose from. But most importantly, yes, you can be bald with a big ass beard, which I am incredibly happy about.
Yo, Mr. V, a pleasure.
With your physical appearance customized to your liking, you then need to decide on your starting attributes. These are your character stats that will influence how you play the game. Cyberpunk doesn't feature a class system, instead it has a fluid class system whereby you build your character in a way that you want to play. Within each of these attributes, there are plenty of perks to unlock, of which we'll touch on shortly, but top level you have the body attribute, which is essentially your raw physical power. This improves your health, reduces bullet spread, increases your melee damage and your max stamina pool, good if you want to run headlong into battle, like me. It also determines how long you can grapple enemies and enhances your skill using heavy weapons like shotguns and machine guns. The reflex stat is coordination and speed. This increases your critical chance, your attack speed, and increases your evasiveness. This skill also determines how proficient you are with rifles, handguns, and blades. Intelligence is intellect and memory. This reduces the difficulty level of hacking, shortens the time taken to upload programs and the associated memory pool. It will also give you additional dialogue options and enables you to interact with more objects and even opens up new paths around the world. Your technical ability is your technical aptitude. This grants you armor and increases your chances of harvesting craftable loot. It also directly influences your crafting ability, specifically for weapons, and your proficiency with tech weapons. This also increases your effectiveness against mechanical enemies, and furthermore, tech points will also provide additional dialogue options in certain situations. And finally, you have the cool stat, or the cool attribute. This is your self-control and your willpower. This improves your stealth and your speed at which NPCs will notice you. It also increases your critical damage and improves your effect resistances. If you plan to go down the stealthy assassin route, you will definitely want to invest in this skill. When you create your character, you first have 7 points to spend. You can then spend them wherever you like. Then as you play the game and you progress, you'll level up and unlock more points to spend. There is a 6th stat called Street Cred. This isn't something you actively spend points in, but again, by completing activities, doing contracts, completing bounties, defeating enemies, and basically just playing the game, you'll accrue more Street Cred. And Street Cred will unlock new vendors and grant you access to higher quality items. The more items open to you, the better your customization options.
What the hell?
Could fucking tell me what you plan to do first.
As you progress throughout the game, complete missions, contracts, stories, activities, the lot, you'll accrue XP. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? You're playing an RPG. XP will see you level up, which will in turn reward you with both attribute points and perk points. Again, this gameplay is from the 2019 gameplay. This is actually out of date. In the build that I played, this layout has completely changed. See all this stuff on the outside? That is gone. And by gone, I don't mean removed, I mean just gone from this page. What typically happens now is that you have the top page, which features your 5 core attributes, so you can then spend your points there. And you can then select any of the 5 attributes to dive into a second menu which contains all the perks you could ever want. Within each attribute menu, there are also multiple pages of perks based on various different playstyle options. While I don't have the specific details on every single perk, I can give you the general feel for how this works. Within the body attribute, you have 3 pages: Street Brawler, Athletics, and Annihilation. Each of these pages contains 20-ish perks, give or take, 20, 22, something like that. Some perks are subtle, like reduces the damage taken by blocking by 20%, or health slowly regenerates during combat. Meanwhile, some others are more notable. You will typically lean more towards certain pages depending on your chosen playstyle, so Street Brawler leans into the melee combat area, Athletics into your stamina, and Annihilation into your weapon proficiency. Within the Reflex attribute, you have another 3 pages: Rifles, Handguns, and Blades. Lots of stats here to increase the damage for your weapons under certain conditions, like against moving enemies or whilst moving. But specifically, in the Blade tree, you have perks that allow you to deflect attacks and even perform dash attacks with your katana, so lots of very cool things that will influence the way you play. Within Intelligence, you have 2 pages, one for device hacking, i.e. things around the world, and another for target hacking, i.e. your enemies. Skills here typically pertain to either hacking speed, proficiency, the number of hacks you can perform, etc. Meanwhile, within the technical ability, you have 2 pages, one for crafting and one for engineering. And then finally, within the cool attribute, you have another 2 pages, one for stealth and one for cold-blooded. There are some really cool things in here, like the ability to throw knives, push enemies away after a grapple, and perform aerial takedowns, stuff like that. So if you go under the assumption that each perk category has around 20 to 22 perks to choose from, times that by the 12 different pages across the attributes, you're looking at around 240, 250 perks to choose from, which is pretty insane. But it doesn't stop there. Sure, you have your character attributes and your perks, but then you have your augments, your cybernetic implants that you can physically install into your character at the Ripperdocs. Ripperdocs are vendors that sell you cybernetic body enhancements, and within this, there's a ton of stuff. Again, this gameplay is old. In fact, this gameplay is from the 2018 gameplay demo, the very first one they did at E3, so it is very out of date. The new UI layout is much better. I described this before, but imagine a human anatomy diagram like you'd see in a science class. You'll see that at the center of the screen, and then coming off of the body are loads of lines linking to all the different implants and augments that you have. There are multiple slots per body part typically, and in the build I played there were 3 slots in the frontal cortex, 1 in the ocular system, 3 in the circulatory system, 2 in the immune system, 2 in the nervous system, 3 in the integumentary system, your primary operation system, 2 slots in the skeleton, 1 in the hands, 1 in the arms, and 1 in the legs. These are all slots that can be filled with augments. Again, some of them are more subtle, stat increases under certain conditions, immunity to certain effects or statuses, but other ones are more notable. For example, in the arms, some of the upgrades I saw were the gorilla arms, which are knuckles that increase your physical damage. Mantis blades, which are the concealed blades in your arms that can come out and allow you to slice and dice your targets with shock damage. There's the mono wire, which does chemical damage, which you can then use to cut enemies, and you even have a projectile launch system that is quite literally a missile launcher in the palm of your hand. So as you can begin to see, we now have 3 layers of customization. Your attributes, your perks, and now your cybernetic enhancements. But it doesn't stop there. See, once you have your character all tricked out, you're now going to need some weapons, right? Now this is something I have barely scratched the surface of, since in my 4 hours of playtime, I only encountered 3 weapons, all of which were pistols, but I can give you some insight as to the stats that roll on those weapons. Weapons and other loot by extension fall within different rarity categories. Not sure how many there are in total, but I saw common, white items, uncommon green items, epic purple items, and both gold and orange items that are called iconic and legendary respectively. I'm sure there are more, but those were the colours that I saw. As you'd expect, weapons roll with DPS, overall damage, fire rate, mag size, a level, but they also have bonus stats like physical damage, crit hit chance, charge time, and more. Plus, some weapons even have bonus or unique perks. I imagine most typically on the iconic weapons. The one that I had a bonus whereby crit hit chance, damage type, and status effect application are randomized after each reload. The other example was the DR5 Nova, a legendary revolver. This too had all the base stats alongside things like ricochet damage and a reduction to weapon spread, but weapons also have slots, most of which were empty at my time of playing, but I imagine this is where the mod and crafting system comes into play. Being able to further upgrade your weapon through slots is going to add yet another layer to customization. Weapons in Cyberpunk fall within 3 major categories: power, smart, and tech. Power are conventional weapons that fire bullets propelled by gunpowder. Simple, sure, but tried and tested and inexpensive. Smart weapons are small handheld launchers for self-guided missiles. They lock onto targets via smart link, no aiming required, and since the bullets are self-propelled, they can be very short with minimal ventilation. Then you have tech weapons, powerful electromagnetic force generated by magnets that are around the barrel, and these launch projectiles at incredibly high speeds. They are perfect for piercing armor and other defenses. So as you can now begin to see, with a backstory, your core abilities, your underlying perks, your cybernetic implants, and now your loot, you've got a lot of potential to really build out your character. Now, of course, for those of you that really want to embrace the Cyberpunk ways and take full advantage of hacking, then that's where your Cyberdeck comes in. Cyberdeck allows you to install and run numerous programs, typically referred to as daemons. These can be uploaded directly to your enemy combatants and can provide you with advantages in certain situations, distractions, reconnaissance, removal of obstacles, etc. Some examples I got to encounter were Short Circuit, which overloads a target's cyberware, causing a short circuit and dealing electrical damage. Forced Suicide, which is a cyber psychosis program that forces the enemy to shoot themselves with their own weapon. Reboot Optics will reset an enemy's optical cyberware, causing partial blindness for the duration. SOS Signal can simulate a signal from a distant squad member requesting aid and forcing the target to go and investigate. Overheat causes the target's cyberware to overheat, dealing thermal damage over time. And Glitch Weapon causes the target weapon to malfunction, reducing its effectiveness or even forcing the target to swap weapons. There are of course plenty of other options. One I got to try out in the training room was one where you could detonate the enemy's grenade, so naturally combining that with the SOS signal, you would lead the enemy towards his friend, detonate the grenade, and take them both out in the process. So safe to say, if you want to be a hacking master, there's a lot of stuff to choose from. Of course, outside of that, there is also plenty of visual customization too. You can go to clothes shops and buy swaggy outfits. You have hats or other head items and face items, shirts, jackets, trousers, or pants for those of you guys that are in the US. You have shoes, you can even get cool masks. I bought this sweet gold Oni mask as well as a sort of VR style headset. Plus you have the option for outfits, so as well as individual per item customization, you'll also get outfits like the suit that you wear for one of the missions. So stats and swaggy looks, you really do have it all.
High risk, high reward. First rule of the afterlife. Ka-ting, baby.
Now Night City is split across 6 main districts. You have Watson, Westbrook, Santo Domingo, Pacifica, Haywood and the city centre. Plus you also have the surrounding Badlands, and each district has its own identity, populace, style, vibe and threats. If you begin life as a corpo, you start at the city centre. Skyscrapers forming a brutalist fortress-like skyline and a place that really gives you a taste for the corporate world. Starting life as a nomad will put you in the Badlands, the vast desert-like plains outside the city walls. And Haywood, the starting zone of the street kids, graffiti, bars, clubs, gang members, you name it. Watson is known as the bad neighbourhood of Night City, the home to low-income employees scraping for a living. Westbrook is like the love child of America's Las Vegas and Japan's Kabukicho, which is where basically people go to spend a lot of money. Santo Domingo is full of towering mega buildings that act as vertical favelas, thousands of tiny apartments, power plants, factories, another rough part of town. And Pacifica was supposed to be Night City's money-making vacation resort, but once the investment dried up, it just became a husk left to rot. When looking at the map, while I didn't get to visit all these districts or even get to see the full scale, I was able to scroll for a considerable amount of time. So I get the impression that this is a big map. Big and dense. Lots of stuff going on, plenty of hustle and bustle, and it feels alive. Of course, as you explore the world, sure you have your main story missions that you can follow whenever you please, but amidst all of that you have an array of activities, missions, bounties, side quests, that sort of thing to get involved in. Some examples I encountered included Assault in Progress. This is basically a quick encounter that you can get involved in. It requires you to neutralise the perps involved and secure any evidence at the scene. You have Reported Crimes, which are similar to Assault in Progress, same kind of thing, requires you to neutralise a group of enemies in a threat, and then share any necessary evidence. You have Side Jobs, and these are described as business that won't typically make any headlines. These include things like favours for people, straightforward tasks, and chance encounters. Jobs that can be done quickly, but keep in mind that all activities do of course go towards your street cred. There was even a job that kind of required you sneaking into an area and extracting some kind of item from a box, but typically that will always be within gang hideouts. There'll of course be plenty of hostiles around. And of course, amidst all of this, you also have street stories. Some side quests are quick activities, meanwhile others will morph into branching stories. Speaking to one of the lead quest designers, he mentioned how some of these have quite a considerable amount of narrative to them, so they almost become their own fully fledged stories. And for the areas that you haven't fully explored, you also have lots of yellow question marks, indicating things that likely you want to check out, but still have yet to discover.
Fuck's your problem, Psycho Sue? This look like a landing pad to you? Could have fucking crushed us. Jesus Christ.
Okay, no, hey, we ain't looking for no beef with you.
So, as you can begin to see, Night City and Cyberpunk have quite a bit to offer. Tons of customization options and ways to play, plenty of combat options, activities, and a world to explore and get lost in. To say I'm excited for this game is definitely an understatement. But anyway, that's enough from me for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this more in-depth look into the game and the world of Cyberpunk. If you did, then don't forget to drop a cheeky like, as it does really help me out, and this video took me a long time to make, and more importantly, stick around as we've got plenty more Cyberpunk content planned. Thanks for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there if you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with. It's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.